Guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk quickly about the Cage Titans 69 happening tomorrow as I'm filming this. Tomorrow being January 25th in Plymouth, Massachusetts, as usual. I'm not going to go over every fight on this, but I've got 4 fights that I'm watching, and I will tell you who I think each will win each fight. So we'll start at the bottom of the main card here. I've got Trevor Goody versus Kenyon Moore on my watch list here. Trevor Goody has been on a bit of a slide recently after starting off pretty strong in his career, making it to Bellator, but he's been kind of going back and forth, win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. But to be fair, he has been fighting solid fighters, Giannetti, Condon. But, you know, I've got him winning this fight. I think he gets back in the winning train. I think he gets back to 500, 5-5. It's just he's a very unique challenge for anybody. 6'7" at 170 is very hard to counter. And so he's going to have a big reach advantage, a big height advantage over Moore. And I don't see much from Moore in terms of what shows him like any impressive wins, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I do think it will be a bit of a slugfest for a little bit with him and Goody, but I do think Goody will come out with a submission, probably some sort of front headlock choke to win and go back to 500. So that's the first fight I wanted to highlight. I'm picking Trevor Goody by submission, probably in the second round, I would guess, if you made me guess. Next one is another 170 fight with a debuting Ozzy Martin. He has been an amateur in Cage Titans for a while, had a lot of really fun fights, and only one loss on his record here, and everything else is a finish within 2 rounds. So I think this is obvious. This isn't necessarily the most even matchup, I would say. Having a guy who's 37 and 2-5 here, hasn't fought in almost 2 years, or more than 2 years once we get to the fight day. But I will be excited to see Ozzy get another win, and probably in a violent style KO in the first round, I would have to guess. The only thing is Marshall is a bigger guy. It looks like his last fight was at light heavyweight. But I just watched the weigh-ins and said nobody missed weight. So it seems he's on weight, but I just think the fact that his last fight was at light heavyweight and he's fought at heavyweight before and now he's coming down to welterweight. I mean, maybe that means he's taken his career more seriously, but at 37, I would guess he's not. So maybe we could be surprised. We've seen some prospect fraud checks recently, but I don't think this one's going to happen. I got Ozzy Martin by first round, KO or TKO. Next up, wow, I guess all of my fights that I want to watch are 170 fights. I've got Jack Condon versus Ali Zaban as the next highlighted fight. Speaking of fraud checks that we saw, this isn't a fraud check by any means. I mean, losing one fight to Jonathan Pearsema is not a fraud check, but we saw Jack Condon lose for the first time last year. Was very active, though. He fought 3 times last year and won 2 out of the 3. And this fight, I think he's definitely going to get back on the winning ways. I do think Ali is a solid fighter, but I don't think he's going to be winning this one or going anywhere. He's just a very undersized guy. He's listed at 5'6" here, which for a welterweight is pretty crazy, especially it's definitely going to look bad against Condon, who's a tall guy himself. I think he's like 6'3", 6'4", maybe. So it's going to be a hard fight for him, for Ali, to try to close that distance and negate that that reach advantage that Condon has. if he can grapple a little bit, I think that's his best chance for victory. That's what Piersema did. He really grappled him and got him tired and then finished him in the later rounds. So that's the best chance for him to win. But in terms of Condon, I've got him winning. And I do think Ali is pretty strong, got a solid chin. So I don't know if he'll be able to finish him. He hasn't been, Ali's never been knocked out, it looks like, in his whole career. He's lost via submission. But I don't think Condon's got a submission threat, so I will pick Condon by decision on this one. A nice, solid win to get the hype train back a-rolling. And the last one I'm highlighting is the main event, which is Don Shainis versus Tom. I'm going to try my best to pronounce this. Is Pagliarolo. So this one's for the featherweight championship here. And Don Shainis is kind of one of their guys, the Cage Titans guys. They were very excited when he got to the UFC here. Shainis has been in the UFC, 0-2 in the UFC though, but that doesn't really matter. He fought Sadiq Youssef and Jack Jenkins, which pretty hard couple of fights for your first UFC fights, and he wants to get back there. Cage Titans wants to get him back there, but I think this is a fight that he could very well lose. Tom is coming in as the younger fighter, and then he's I mean, that's the big thing, right? Is like he's the younger fighter, so he's going to be more athletic, you would assume, and I think Shainis is obviously tested and battle tested. He's done a lot, but the reach advantage is definitely going to be to Tom. Shainis is listed at 5'6". Tom is at 6 foot, and at featherweight, that's a big discrepancy. I think there's a chance that that Tom catches him with something, but I think watching Shainis's fight with Gerald Musi was kind of an eye-opener to me. I realized that he could have, and I know that fight was up 5 pounds, but I mean, Musi is not a striker by any means, and he was going kind of life and death with him. So unless he's really shoring up some of his defense, I think Tom could catch him and kind of hurt him, win a couple rounds that way. And I do have him winning. I've got Tom winning this fight, winning the Cage Titans belt by decision, though. I think it'll be a close decision. And I think he kind of steals some of Don Shainis' hype, and maybe it's him who starts getting the calls from the UFC instead of Don Shainis. So that's the prediction for me, and that's the big 4 predictions for this card for me. The main event, got Tom Pagliarolo winning a decision. Got Jack Condon winning by decision. I've got Ozzy Martin winning by KO or TKO, and I've got Trevor Goody winning by submission. So lots of developments in the 170 space tonight, or tomorrow night, I should say. And I will be excited to watch. And quickly, some fights I would make after this. I would probably make Ozzy Martin versus Trevor Goody, and then maybe Jack Condon. I do want to see him fight Kyle Hill at some point. So those would be the couple fights that I would make. Trevor Goody versus Ozzy Martin, and Jack Condon versus Kyle Hill. So everybody, thank you for joining me. Hopefully this Cage Titans event goes off. A lot of fun. This is their first one of the year, so hopefully they've reinvested some stuff, got some good production value, make a good show, as they usually do. So we'll check back in with you in a couple weeks, and we'll see you later. Peace.